that's confusing in the directions by chance?
I do have one question. It doesn't
Yep.
need to be in color, right? At all?
Correct.
Okay. I just was
Everything,
just confused about that in the directions.
yeah, everything in this class is going to be black and white. And that I'll show you how to actually change some things to black and white today in a little quick demo. But yeah, so just know everything for this class, always black and white as you work.
Thank you.
Any other general class questions or project 01 questions? Okay. So just a reminder too, you guys have that drawing challenge that's due in the discussions. So just remember it's here for your Monday, Wednesday class. This Monday, Wednesday? Today's Wednesday, yes. So yeah, so this will be due on the same day as the project, but yeah, a couple students have done this already. Emily and Rebecca. So always, look and see what each other are doing, but this is like these both look good as options for that. So these drawing challenges should take about 20 minutes to 45 minutes. That's kind of my expectations on it. If you scribble it out and done in 5 minutes, I would like you to put a little bit more work into it. If you want to spend 3 hours on it, that's fine. But the general idea for you to kind of get a understanding of whatever concept we go over in class that day should be about 20 to 40 minutes. So is this about the project too? So yeah, 1.5 versus 0.5 inches apart. Yes, let's start that. And I'll just kind of show you guys how to set up your document for that. Just so we're kind of all on the same page, and I'll just show you how to get the ball rolling on that. So yeah, hopefully most of you guys have started this by now. Would be a good thing for you guys to start this. And for all these projects, don't just wait till the night before. I can always tell the projects that don't have that haven't spent the appropriate amount of time on it. All right, so yeah, you'll have all these 6 boxes, but the big thing here is this little template. So I just click this link right here, template for assignment number 1. And this is just to kind of get you used to make sure you know how to use the program, and you can do basic things like making boxes that are a specific size, having them space the specific size. And that's just kind of making sure you're paying attention to the directions. You can make a document that's the right size and all that sort of stuff. So let's close this one. Why is this thing? Okay. So always start with this letter 8.5 by 11. I have this as a pre-selected option. You guys probably will too, especially once you make one of these. If not, you can always plug in specific sizes here that you want. But one artboard is what we'll do, and vertical orientation. And again, we'll always use that 8.5 by 11. So yeah, here's a question. Aitza, how do you pronounce that name? Aitza? Sound like I'm pronouncing that wrong. Aitza, that makes more sense there. Thank you for that phonetic spelling out there. Help me out. Yeah, Aitza asked about getting that specific spacing. So yes, I am going to be looking to make sure you have that space in between the boxes there done correctly. That is a big part of this project. Okay. But there are some easy ways to do that, and I'll direct you to the videos as well that show you how to do that. But I'll just kind of go over it here so you guys can watch me do it and then see if you have any questions as I'm going through it, since you can't ask the video recording questions. Okay, so the easiest way, move this, is you want to get the rulers up. So that's kind of rulers that tell you how big your document is and allows you to get some guidelines going. So that's under view, rulers, show rulers, or you can hit Command R is another way to do it. So what's nice about most of these little things, it also tells you the keyboard shortcut to get these things figured out, like zoom in, zoom out, Command plus, Command minus, or Control plus, Control minus is an easy one. Control Z or Command Z for undo is one obviously used all the time, but for rulers, you go view rulers, show rulers. So always make sure that this goes to that 8.5 here and the 11 for the vertical, because sometimes if you have it set as points by mistake, these numbers will be all off. Okay. So how far down from the top? 1.5 inches from the top of the page. So we click here. When you click right on this ruler, you can get some guides. So click and drag down to 1. There's 1 inch, 1.5 there. So I'll just leave that guide right there and do the same thing. Do we have 1.5 inches in from the side? Yes. So click here and drag over to 1 inch, 1.5 right there. So those will just stay there. You can clear these off later on, but those will, stay there as you need. These are really good, later on, just if you want to make sure, if you're working on other projects down the road and you just want to make sure like all your boxes or part of your artwork is all lined up, just dragging out these rulers. And then our boxes are 2.5 by 2.5 inches. And again, making sure you're in that inches setting is going to make your document is 8.5 by 11 inches. Will make sure that that everything appears correctly. All right, so I want to make that box. So I just click this little button right here, which says default fill and stroke. So that always switches it to the default fill and stroke, which is just a white interior and a black line around it. Pretty simple. But as you work, these will get to be different thicknesses and different colors. And so if you ever want to get back to the default, just hit that right there. So normally we click and drag to make our boxes, which is a great way to do it for the most part, but it's hard to control that size. So rather than clicking and dragging, I'm just going to click once. That brings up this, this little option box. So now I can plug in the exact width and the exact height that I want for that box. So we'll just go 2.5, and it defaults to inches when you're in an inches size document. And there that is. So what tool do I switch to then move this around, to move this wherever I need to move it? Anyone know?
The selection tool, right?
Yeah, selection tool. So, and so the keyboard shortcut is V. We'll switch back to that. So here's another thing that's sometimes tricky when I'm moving this around. I can click anywhere in this box to move it. But a common issue I see a lot with people as they work and they're learning is sometimes your fill will get turned off, which sometimes you don't want to fill in there. So I'm just going to put this over here. So if the fill is off, this says none. So this fill is on top. When I click none, now there's no fill. But I can't drag this when there's no fill in there. So if there's no fill, you have to drag it exactly by that edge, by that stroke around the edge. It's kind of weird they don't let you drag it when there's no fill in there. There's probably a purpose of it. It's some sort. I haven't quite found that yet. So you can have it in there without a fill, but just know if you're having trouble dragging it, it's probably because there's no fill on there. And remember to get that information about this shape, just select it. And then I see, oh, there's a slash through the fill. So that means there's no fill on there. Okay. So that can be really frustrating and confusing if for some reason you're not able to drag your shape around. So I usually like to have a fill on there just because it's easier to drag it around. So as this is selected, I'm going to move it back over here so you can see what happens. I'm just going to click that default fill and stroke, and that'll put a white fill back on there. And now it's easier to put that in there. So I'm just going to line that right up with the corner of those guides, since that's where it is supposed to be placed. Now we need a ½ inch in between, ½ inch in between. So I'm just going to use these guides again, line one up right here. And then one up, so that's at 4 inches. So that's 5, so 4½. So now I can go back to my rectangle tool and click again to make a new rectangle, or I can just click on it and hit, because I know this is the right size, hit Command C and Command V, your PC, Control C and Control V, and just plop it right there. So Aita, does that kind of help you to get that spacing figured out there? Cool. So what I will do then, I will just copy and paste both these. So I just dragged 2 more guides down to get that 0.5 inches there. So I can select both of these at once. So if I hold, what is it? Option, no, Control. How do I select? Yes. If I hold Shift, that's what it is. So if I select one square and then hold Shift and click another square, they're both selected. So now rather than copy and pasting the box multiple times, I'm just going to copy and paste both of these. So Command C, Command V. And now I can drag both of these boxes right there. And then drag my guides again, figure out where that lines up, get a ½ inch. So we're at 7, 7½. Shift, select both of these, Command C, Command V, and right there. Okay. And that's pretty much it for getting that laid out there. Oh, and then you want that text. So I do want to see the text here lined up, sitting right on top of one of those boxes and next, and then lining up with the edge there. So I find the easiest way to deal with text. You guys found this little hand thing to move around your canvas before? Anyone found that feature?
Yeah, it's been a lifesaver for me sometimes.
Yeah, that one is, I use this all the time. So that's just holding space bar and then clicking and dragging. So that's a really easy way to maneuver around your document. And little things like that are going to be really useful when we get to much more complicated artwork. But for the text tool, I just like to treat it like a shape. So that means I just click and drag it as a shape. It always fills it in with this weird gibberish, just, placeholder text. Then you can put your name in there. And then again, to move this around, it's the same as a shape. So you switch back to that selection tool. And it's kind of weird again, you have to click right on the letters in order to move this. But once something, any shape or the text that's selected, when it's selected, you can use the arrows. So I'm just clicking on my right arrow key and nudging this around to line it up exactly where I want it. All right. And once this is done, I have all these boxes. I would want to get these guides out of there. They're kind of visually distracting. So you just go to, how do I get these? View rulers. How do you clear the guides? Guides, here we go. So view, guides, clear guides. That will get rid of those. So now you're kind of ready to just complete the project now. Fill in stroke variety here. What's it? Rectangle variety, ellipse variety, polygon variety, pin tool variety, and free choice for your last one. Any questions on getting this document set up? Boxes the right size and the right space? Oh, nice. Yeah, Rebecca, if you can use your pen and fingers, that works as well. All right, cool. So I usually use this pen tool here to make the line. So I'll just draw a line there. So now I want to end this line, right? So I just did 3 clicks with the pen tool. 1, 2, 3. They can be straight lines or curved lines, however you want to do it. I want to end this. And in order to end it, just switch back to your selection tool or hit the letter V. And that ends it. But as I look over here, I have a fill on, but there's no stroke. So this object is selected, or this shape is selected. So I want to flip this around. So I'm going to hit this little arrow right there. Now, as I zoom in on this, now it's just a line. Okay, so this could work fine for one of your options. But as you do another one, you need to show me some variety of that line. So I just did 3 more clicks. I'm going to hit V again. And now I want to do some options. So that's where you can come over to here and do some thick to thin lines. So I like these presets are all really nice. So we were talking about that line variety in terms of sketching those houses like we did in the drawing challenge. This is the digital version of that. Okay, so I suggest probably do 1 or 2 with these different width profiles. They look really nice. It's kind of imitating like you're drawing with ink. But then also do some of these textured lines. So this is kind of like if you're drawing with, you know, charcoal or pastel or something like that. And there's a whole bunch of options under here. These are all tons of options of different lines. So I go over these in the tutorial videos, but I just want to show you guys as we're all here together, see if any questions or confusion pops up. So it's good just to see, this project is really just kind of good to see what options there are, because you can use these different things on projects later on. You can use these arrow ones if you want. What are these ones? I don't even know what all these do, because there's so many options here in Illustrator. Okay, question on those strokes. So I think you fill up like 5 to 10 here and 5 to 10 of the boxes as well. I just want to show you guys pattern fills here really quick before. Okay, so this box right now it has no fill and it has a black stroke on it. So I want to put a fill on there. So now I have white fill and black stroke. I'm going to put a gray in here since we're doing gray. Have you guys found the pattern fills yet as you've been messing around with the program? Oops. So you can fill it with these patterns, but the problem with those is their color. So let me show you where the black and white ones are. They're this little swatch library menu down here. Drop that down. Oh, where are we? Go to patterns, basic graphic. These are all some nice black and white patterns. So I've seen students use some of these patterns really well in their art projects too. So like You know, maybe this is the texture on a roof or a house or something, or this ends up being kind of texture in the water, or this could be like the night sky or something like that. So it's just kind of good to note and see all the different stuff that Adobe Illustrator can do. So you can use it later on when we're working on more complicated projects. But let's say you really like one of these color patterns. So that's cool, you can do that, but you can change this to black and white later on. So if you like this color one, or there's all these other color ones here. I got these weird animal skin ones, which are cool. But again, no color. So if you want to use these, it's fine, but you can change it to black and white. So it's really easy to change this to black and white. Just select your shape, go to edit, edit color, convert to grayscale. So edit, edit color, convert to grayscale. And to get that to work, you have to have the shape selected. So now you can use that one. But then I also want to see you guys change those strokes, because you can add like texture strokes around these as well. All right. So just fill those up. Any questions on those pattern fills? All right, one last thing I want to show you while we are together is the use of this pen tool. So pen tool can be a very frustrating tool, but it is also very useful later on. How do you round the square? Good question. Good question. Yeah, because that's one of the options, right? Is to have rounded squares, I believe, right? One of the requirements. So there's a couple ways to do it. So you can go here and just choose the rounded rectangle tool. That's probably the easiest way. So it's just a different option. You can also drag these little things right there and choose how rounded you want those edges to be. So all the rectangles have that little dot here. It's kind of hard to see when it gets busy. So it's just that little dot there. So you can subtly round it, or you can like make it a really dramatic rounded square. Good question there. Can you adjust? Oh yeah, you can adjust these after you create one with the rounded rectangle as well. All right, that pen tool. So this pen tool is very fun. You will get to know the pen tool well. The easiest thing to create is just a straight edge, unique shape. So all I'm doing here is I'm just clicking to create anchor points to create a different shape. So I could just create a square with this as well. But the point of this is to create those more unique shapes. So the biggest thing, so I'm just clicking to create a corner for the shape, but in order to finish that shape, you have to close it. To close that shape, you have to go back to that original anchor point you started at, and just click back there, and that will close the shape. So now it's a closed shape. And once it's created, now you can manipulate it and move it around just as you would a rectangle or an oval in this program. You can change the stroke and fill, do whatever you want to it. Make the stroke thicker, put texture strokes on it, put thick to thin strokes on it. But just note that you have to kind of go back to where you started. I mean, you can like cross over and make it really weird. What does it look like then? I don't even know what's going to happen. So you can do that. We won't usually create shapes like this. Normally they will be kind of have that line that goes around the outside rather than having these weird little X's there. But you can try it. But one thing I'm really specifically going to be looking for is straight to curves, okay? So this is just the basic intro of the pen tool. We're gonna get more complex with it, but that's just starting a shape that has straights in it. So these are all just straight lines. I'm just single clicking once with the mouse. But let's say we wanna make a nice swooping curve down here. This is where it gets a little tricky. I have to click, but I'm holding down on the mouse. I'm not letting go like I did before, and then dragging to get a nice curve. And then I can go back to that start. And now I have a shape that shows me straight and curve. So make sure at least one of your pen tool shapes that you create in here shows me one edge that has a really nice curve and then has straight edges as well on it. So that's really something, that's kind of the main thing I'm looking for with that pen tool on this first project, is to make sure you can do straight to curves with the pen tool and get that figured out. All right. Any other questions on project one in general? All right, so that's going to be your main task over the weekend, as well as the drawing challenge. So I'm just going to send you guys off today, and let you guys start to work on these projects. So start working on it, before the not the day before it's due. Start working on it today and stuff. I'll be checking my email over the weekend and in the next couple of days. So if you have any issues that come up, just shoot me a message and let me know, whether it's technical difficulties or if you just can't figure something out in the program or whatever like that. But hopefully it's all pretty straightforward there in the project description. Yes, and yeah, definitely. I'm recording this, so I'll get this uploaded to YouTube, and I will email you guys this lecture playlist. I'm gonna write this down right now. I'll email this lecture playlist to you guys so you can rewatch this. Just the basic